Hello, everyone, and welcome to our June 2026 energy update. I am very curious about this because I feel that there are a lot of glitches right now. There are a lot of timeline glitches. There is a lot of trouble landing things in because timelines are moving so quickly, and I even feel a little jumbled just doing this. And I'm recording this toward the end of May. And I kind of want to close some loops around what's been going on at the end of May and moving into June. Um, when I just look at the field at the top layer of June, it has a really strong green frequency to it. It's very heart centered, it's very compassionate, it's very nature connected, it's very grounded, but it's a really strong emerald green. And there's also that really strong, like, electric blue energy to it. And before I start, I like to call in whichever of my guides want to most connect with us this month. And that's giving me an idea of the themes that are going to be relevant for this month. And when I opened up the space here, Green Tara was here, Melchizedek was here, Archangel Michael, who's always here, but he doesn't always step forward as somebody who is delivering messages for the month necessarily. And so just based on that, there are a lot of themes initially coming up around one, our connection with the earth, our connection with the land, our connection with our home space, our connection with our hearts, and this need for a really grounded energy, this need for I'm choosing myself first, this need for I'm coming into things from a stabilized, more rooted place so that I can see things clearly. There's a really strong relationship energy right now. There's definitely that soulmate contract, divine counterpart contract, twin flame contract thing coming up. That's very much Archangel Michael. This is also very connected to rejection is protection, rejection is redirection, noticing where doors are slamming shut and where new ones are opening up. And that's going to be really connected to all of these really fast moving switching timelines, which I'll get back to in a moment. And then where Melchizedek comes in is he's very much saying it's time to cut out the extras and really land in on the frequency that you're here to bring and what you want to feel and the mission you're here to deliver. And there's a bit more of like a sterner energy. We are cutting out the BS and getting serious about it. And if you're not going to make the choice to release what's a distraction, then it's just going to get ripped out of your life for you, that kind of energy. But there's a very grounded harmonic energy, which is really interesting considering I feel like the end of May feels like a giant swirling vortex of all of these different doors coming up. I mean, the visuals moving are so fast for me. It's not usually this fast, which is telling me that a lot of timelines are like coming in, they come out. Part of that has to do with us anchoring in throat chakra, the identity that we're really meant to be here to express. And I do think that there is a subtle adjustment between who we think we're here to be and who we're actually here to be. This is where it gets really clear this month. And there's something about letting these old versions of ourselves be gone. There's something about releasing those old habits that we don't even realize are still holding a really strong energy for us, that they're really strongly vibrationally still calibrating us to somewhere back here, and it's creating this tension between who we've been and where we want to go. And I think really taking a step back and looking at those habits that we have, and the things that we assume, and which of those are actually holding us to an old identity. So odd. The number 30 is written in the corner of the ceiling, and I've never noticed that, and I just noticed it. Do you see that? So I'm just gonna assume that's a sign because I've literally never seen that before. 30. That is so funny. You can't make it up. However, the number 30 is for. We are in a 7 month in June, going into June, and sevens. Oh, I mean, I love a 7. A 7 can be intense, but a 7 for someone like you or me can be so lovely because it really is about bridging the spiritual and the physical. It's about taking everything that's going on up here and actually grounding it in to this plane. It can come with a lot of ego deaths and deep introspection, and I actually feel like it's a really good time to work on a book that's like an autobiography, or deep in a project. I know people might think of that more like a 4, but for something that's more of this channeled work, I feel like 7s are such a great month, but it's really like coming back home to yourself and who you are as a soul in a vessel. That is the big energy with the 7s this month. But there's something really interesting to that. I mean, is there anything else that you can tell me about with all of these timeline switching? I think just kind of validating if you're seeing a lot of glitches. I mean, just this morning, I'll be honest, I'm used to a lot of this stuff, and I have been really thrown off the last few weeks because of how many glitches there are. It's almost disorienting a little bit for me. And just like this morning, like 5 different times, I 100% walked into different realities, like very specific things. It's so silly, but it's like I had 2 mascaras and they both had all of this stuff all over them. And then I walked away and I came back and I had one mascara that had all the stuff around it and then a brand new one sitting next to it 5 seconds later. And I was like, what? I just glitched into a different reality. Or my cat, I woke up and he's been licking off a bunch of his fur because he had an allergic reaction to a food. And so he had this little spot, and I saw him like 30 minutes later and it had grown. It was huge and it had like blood on it, and I was freaking out, and I went downstairs to go grab, he has some wipes and some ointment. Go downstairs, I grab it, I come back up, and it's back to where it was. And it's just a bunch of little things like that that can almost be disorienting. What this also connects to is it can feel really hard to kind of grab. Like, it can feel hard to grab, to anchor in the timeline. And what they want you to know is that there's a lot of moving pieces outside of you right now. And the best thing you can do is actually go inward, drop inward, and take the time to really look at who you've been and who you're meant to be, not who you expect to be, but really, what is your mission? How are you here to serve? How are you here to show up for yourself and be the most fulfilled version of yourself? They're saying there are a lot of things that you think are going to fill you that aren't. And if you actually take some time to inquire within yourself about what will actually fulfill me, you're going to realize that there's a lot of things that you were aiming for, and you might have been taking 3D action, you might have not. You were aiming for them and trying to energize them, and that's why it felt kind of heavier. It felt kind of wobbly. Like, I'm seeing something trying to be built and it's really heavy and the bottom keeps falling out. It's because it didn't have a solid foundation. And it's interesting. They're showing it like, okay, there's an energy over here that is too small. I've outgrown. I don't want that. There's this thing over here that feels bigger. It's like a big building with these big blocks, but they're showing it like these square blocks. And then there's this round-ish big rock in the middle. So all of the top blocks keep falling down, but it's like thick and it's dense and it feels big. And then there's this thing in the middle that almost feels a little boring. It feels overlooked, but it's really stable and it's solid and it's peaceful. And what they're saying is, I want you to relate to that to wherever you're thinking in your life. They're like, this one is actually the one that's going to create that feeling of peace in your body and safety and stability and spaciousness for you to actually feel inspired. And this is the one that can actually build. Sometimes jumping ahead to the thing that feels bigger immediately can just be so wobbly that it can't stand the test of time. And that's why your soul, your guides, the universe, all of it keeps shutting this door or making it difficult, because we, from our POV, can only see so far ahead, and your soul can see way far ahead and is telling you you're not going to be happy here, right? So we don't want to crash and burn, but there's so many moving pieces. There's a lot of moving pieces, I'll say, in a very 3D way, with location for people. Like, this is really strong. And Tanelli and I were just talking about how in the last week, as I record this, just so many people I know personally have had trouble with flights, getting stuck, like in all different parts of the world. You pay attention to themes that come up in your reality. And there was a really strong, like, intuitive thing for me that when I kept seeing that, and it goes back to this theme of the difficulty landing places and the timelines kind of switching and moving, and this thing of, let's not force where we're meant to be, but see where we're getting guided. And that is for our our highest and best in safety. I do feel like July, can you tell me about that? I do feel like something very explosive is going to happen in July. Like, I do feel like something very explosive is going to happen in July. I do think that, I mean, June and July are going to be interesting. I feel a lot of disclosure, but I actually feel like July, there's something very explosive energetically. I think something on the world stage big is going to happen towards the end of July. But I'm kind of less concerned about that. I'm more concerned about our vibration because that affects the reality we're going to experience. But there are times when we're just so in our own flow. And I really believe in focusing on that and focusing on your own flow, and kind of the rest sorts itself out. But my guides will bring in these other things when they're like, there are times when the external pieces are affecting that flow, and you're kind of meeting those energies. And that's one of these times. And so what can be going on is you're like aligned and this feels good, but then tomorrow all these other people are making different choices that change the energy of something, and that's no longer aligned for you. So then it stops working. And you're like, why isn't this working? It felt aligned because the energy around that thing already changed, because other people are also energizing their own things, right? Like, think about the energy of a city. The energy of a city can feel a certain way. And let's say there was just a mass, like a ton of people moved out of the city for whatever reason, and then a ton of very different people moved in. That would completely change the energy of the city. And so you might think, oh, this city feels really aligned. I love the energy here. But then when that energy of the city changes, you're like, wait, I don't resonate with that anymore. And there's a lot city to city of things changing. There's so much going on right now with the grids. And what I'll tell you, this has been something so strong for the last month. I've spent so much more time grid working than I probably ever have, just to kind of stabilize the earth. If you are light worker and energy worker, please help us do the grid work and clean out a lot of the energy of these cities, because there's a mass turnover going on, and people are being called to move different places, to ground in certain places. And it's really, really important work, because that actually affects what happens in terms of leadership, in terms of laws moving through. Like, we're in the middle of co-creating new timelines. This morning when I was meditating, they were showing it to me, like, in different areas, being on just at the very edge of the current template, at the current timeline. And then there's this little jump to get into the new creation template. And there's this moment where we have to consciously say, okay, I'm deciding to leave this one behind and fully jump into this new one. And it feels like learning to walk again. Once you're there, you have to commit to it, and then that's where we can actually create it. And we're hitting that edge. You have to make that jump. But what a lot of people are doing is they can see this or they can feel this, but they're not fully jumping there, and they're still keeping their feet over here because it's familiar. And so there's this constant friction. Things aren't landing until you make they're already showing it like a little jump. It reminds me of an Indiana Jones who has to jump, and he thinks that it's an optical illusion, so it looks like he's gonna fall into the abyss, and actually there's a bridge. And so he jumps and he lands there. It's very much that kind of energy. So that's what I would say to pay attention to. What else do we need to know for this month? They're saying to start pulling. So I'm actually going to start with some tarot for June 2026. I do feel that there will be some difficult releases, and you have to know that you're strong enough for it. You have to understand that, people and things that they're just going to have to clear out. I was talking to my friend yesterday, and what did she say? Pardon my language, but she was like, reveal yourself or get the fuck out. And I was like, that's the prayer I'm bringing forward. Like, reveal yourself if you're in the field, but you're not revealing yourself. People who are for us, like, come on, like, let's come on. Or like, if you're not the person, leave. Right. And I think that's a really strong intention and prayer. And that's a really strong thing that we can do in our energy fields when we feel like we're in the mud, and when we feel like things aren't really clear. And there's something really strong too. Like, I've been doing this a lot recently, clearing out everybody else's energy on top of yours, and really affirming that your intention for your life overrides anybody else's intention. We have to come to that state of sovereignty and that state of empowerment to actually become creators. And I think a lot of people in the spirituality space are observers. They're not creators. That's a very different energy. Observing something is very different than creating it or shifting it. And that's one of the reasons why, for me, I don't do psychic work and energy work separately, because psychic work, that's kind of where I started, but it's observing it or knowing it isn't helpful if I can't shift things, or if I can't align things or open things or clear things. And even vice versa, so doing energy work, when we have that intuitive perception, we can actually do really powerful architectural shifts. So we can make really powerful changes in the field when we see things. And so it's meant to be an empowering experience, not just and so this is what it is, Okay, here we go. Whoops. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't like this the most, but no. Okay. It's fine. It's all good. Hearts get broken sometimes. It's okay. 3 of Swords, 5 of Pentacles, 7 of Swords, the Hierophant, King of Pentacles, 4 of Swords, and Page of Pentacles. This is such 7 energy. And I think this is, what I'll say is you have to hold on to where one door closes, another one opens, right? It's really about understanding that it's okay to not be strong in every moment. And it's really important to not spiritual bypass when things are difficult. And what I would say is really give yourself space to feel your emotions right now. Really give yourself space to feel frustration or sadness or grief or anger. Like, feel that, because the sooner you feel that, I can move through and you can get more clarity. But what I know about myself is I can never get a clear read on what's going on in my life if I haven't first taken the time to just give space for the emotional part of me. If that's fear, if that's anger, let myself feel it and move that energy out, so then I can get a clean look at something, because those are the energies that filter our intuition and make them foggy. If you have fear still vibrating in you and you're trying to get a read on a situation in your life, that fear filter is going to affect what you see. It's going to affect how you interpret. And that's why a lot of people are inaccurate. And so I don't even bother if I'm emotional. I just let myself feel my emotions and go through that process and trust what's delivered. And I think, these energies of trust and surrender in a bigger picture are really important. There's an energy in these cards that's very similar to something I've been feeling personally. That's it can kind of it feels like it can get down to the wire, but then something gets saved at the end, and how I feel with this, it's struggle. To be honest, it's struggle, it's confusion. You might feel like finances are getting worse. You might feel like your health is getting worse. You might feel like you're just getting rejected from every angle. You might feel like somebody betrayed you. There's definitely a betrayal energy. I'm not saying you're gonna have all these things, but I would pay attention to where the friction is in your life, or where it's feeling sticky or hard or deflated. So we're deflated. Where are there leaks in your field? So when you feel this, when you notice this, step 1, feel your emotions. Journal about it. Give your inner child space. Give yourself space. Step 2, where are my leaks? Where are my boundaries leaky? Where can I start to fortify my fields? Where can I start to look at random money I am, letting leak out of my account? Random subscriptions I still have. Do I really need that? Or am I being a good steward for money? Where am I letting my energy leak? I am just giving my energy to anybody who shows me any attention. I'm not acting like a securely attached person. I'm not acting like somebody who knows my value and worth. I am just giving away my energy to anybody who wants it without actually earning any type of trust with that person, right? With your health, those little leaks. Where am I staying up too late? Where am I not getting enough sleep? Am I actually drinking enough water? Am I actually taking time to regulate myself, my body? All of those little things. How am I actually eating? It's looking at those leaks is the first thing. It's this thing of, they're showing a snowball. Certain things will just kind of get bigger and bigger. It started like a really small little thing you didn't think about much, and then it gets bigger and you're like, whoa, now it's having a big effect on my energy field. And so that's really helpful though, because that's showing you something really strong that you can fix. You can seal up that leak. I feel that there is often, I know this is true for me, I think this is true for a lot of you, we have to get pushed hard in certain areas to, as my mom says, buck up. Right? We have to get pushed hard to remember our strength and our courage and our desires, and to get fortified in this energy of, I don't have to know everything. I don't have to be perfect, but I am not going to stop trying. I'm not going to stop just doing what I can to show up for myself. There's a really strong energy here of showing up for yourself in a way that you never have before, and in a more like masculine energy way, in a more, I'm setting up systems for myself. I'm taking care of myself. I'm setting up a program for myself. I'm actually going to learn from other people. Maybe I'm going to take a course or a program. Going back to something that's more structured for yourself so that you have some accountability. And that is going to clean everything up. Where we end is the King of Pentacles. I mean, we love that, right? Like that is our material realm. It's exactly where we're going to be. And we finally have peace. I'm going to come back to this card because I feel like meditation and rest, and like that's a tool you need to come back to many times. And they're saying even throughout certain days, like go back and do your meditations, connect in with your soul like 3-4 times a day, certain times, even if you already did your morning routine or evening routine. Starting to see this as medicine is really important. But this is a very strong, like your physical reality is going to change, like your financial situation, your career, like that's really strong for people right now. But this feels very connected to relationships too. So you might notice this in both parts of your life, or you might notice this in just one, but it's that grounded aspect. It's not just the energetic or the feeling. And I feel like we've been building up to things with the feeling. It starts with the feeling, but by the end of the month, it's very much like, oh, the practical components of my career have shifted, or like practically how I date, or how I my dynamic in my long-term partnership of whatever sort is actually fundamentally different. It's new. Like this is the new template, but it takes things breaking down for us to know what the new thing should be. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and she was talking about business structures, and she was saying how a lot of businesses will build structures that are not set up to be changed. And that's how you shoot yourself in the foot. You have to set up a structure assuming it's going to have to continue to be adapted and shifted and change with the times. And that's a lot of the old template things. Like now, what are the new structures we're gonna set up and move forward? And I think things break down to show you where the exact holes are. Things break down to show you exactly which beliefs need to be shifted, exactly which habits need to change, exactly what you need to look at. And I think there's something really strong right now about learning our resilience. I think there's something really strong right now about doing things that are a little uncomfortable for you. Like I was actually, okay, this is a really simple example. I was in the car today driving, and I don't like to take calls in the car. I like to take calls like when I'm grounded and I can sit down, and then I'll call the person. I need to call the vet for Luna. And I was driving, and I was like, oh, I'll just wait until I get to the office, and then I'll sit down and like get grounded, then I'll call. And I was like, I don't need to do that. I can just call a vet while I'm in the car while I'm driving. Like I can do that. I called, and it was easy, and made my appointment, and it was not a big issue. And I'm like, that's just a really small example. And I think a lot of us have micro moments where we have these things that are a little bit more comfortable for us, or we think it needs to be this way. Like for me, I'm like, oh, I want to be grounded, but I'm more resilient than that. I can take the call. It doesn't have to be perfect energy for me to take a call, and even things with like channeling, I like things to be in a certain environment, and that's really important for the transmission. But there's also some wiggle room in my own resilience of like, Christina, the reality is like you can be in a non-perfect situation, and it's still gonna come through. It's still gonna be clean. And those are just really simple examples of where the resilience is. And so what are the conditions we feel like we have to have for things to go the way we want them to go. God, the energy is just so spicy. Lady of the Lake, absolute truth, courage, self-respect, responsibility. This is, Melchizedek is like, yes, I sent that to you. Absolute truth. She is holding the sword. This is very responsibility, truth, right? Going back to the structures, that what's the reality? Where am I leaking my energy? If I took my emotions out of it, what do I need to do to show up for myself? If I took my emotions out of it, or my ego, or my comparison, what's the reality of who I'm here to be and how I'm here to show up? That's all the extra stuff that's leaking our energy. The mystery, the Queen, and risk. So this is one of my favorite cards. It's about how the universe, the larger forces at play, there's always a bigger thing unfolding than we can see. And so we can run around and try and do our thing and manifest and whatever. And there's, meanwhile, this whole thing swirling that you have no concept of, right? That's happening whether or not you try, and it's going to be delivered. And I feel like this card is always a reminder of like our humanness, and has something so much bigger is at play. And even if you stop trying, things are going to land for you. Like things are going to come into your reality. This always reminds me of like the person that's trying to go on all these dates, you know, and they're hiring a matchmaker and they're on the apps and they're like trying really hard. They're asking all their friends. They're going on like 5 dates a week. Meanwhile, their most aligned partner lives across the world and one day decides, I'm going to take a random trip to this city, gets on a plane, flies 20 hours, lands, and they bump into each other at the coffee shop. It's like no matter how many Hinge dates you went on and how many blind dates you went on in the matchmaker, you were never going to bump into that person until that person got the intuitive hit to get on the plane, travel across the world, and then you guys happen to synchronistically bump into each other at the coffee shop. Like that is the mystery card. And this is true in every part of your life. This is the divine intervention. This is the thing that you have no concept of, you can't even come up with, that is going to land in your life. The Queen card, I love this because I feel like this is that other half of what I was talking about, that more masculine energy. But, you know, the Queen has her own way of being precise with how she moves forward, you know, and I do feel like with the Queen card, it's very much about your internal power and how you can actually work with energy and understand your electricity and your magnetism, work with your field to be in an empowered space and actually work with your current reality. And that's it. So that's the big breakdown. It's literally like I'm watching the ground crumble. That's the big breakdown. Where we're still working with the 3D, it's literally falling away. And until you get grounded in that surrender, in that trust, in working with these larger forces, in really working with magnetism, really working with the energy, you're going to feel unstable, because it's an old operating system. And so that's the empowerment. And the risk piece, I feel like this is really huge. This is like, it goes back to that thing I was showing you before about the old thing, the middle thing, the bigger thing that's crumbling. Like the risk isn't always the thing that feels bigger and bolder. Sometimes the risk is the thing that you just have the least clear understanding of. And that could be that middle path. Because sometimes we go after this because it feels bigger and bolder, but we can see it and we're actually more familiar with this whole idea we created in our heads. And actually, sometimes the risk is going down. They're literally showing this. Oh, wow. This is so weird. I got this message the other day and it's coming back right now. And I didn't know what it was about. I remember in outdoor ed when I was in 5th grade, you know, you'd go away to camp in the forest and we had to do this thing called the night walk. Did anybody else do this? Where you would go with your camp leader, you know, you're in smaller groups. I don't know, maybe like 5 to 10 kids. And you would all be in a group and you had to one at a time walk down this path in the forest at night, like at midnight. So it's pitch black, it's dark. It was the scariest thing. I was so scared. I was like, a bear could come eat me. I don't even know why they do that. I think that's actually a horrible idea. But it was that moment where I was like so scared. I was so afraid. And I'm walking into this abyss. It's midnight. I'm like 12 years old. And I felt like I was free falling. It felt really scary. That is very much this, right? Like, what's the risk? What's the murky thing? Sometimes we have to get closer to something to get the light. And I think it's more about the risk being, again, not something necessarily bigger or bolder, but the thing that makes you the most afraid. What makes you the most afraid? I'm going to do these to end. One more. Oh, this is very much the color of June. Values, they're saying values rearranged, priorities rearranged. Wow. I've never gotten this card. This is spicy. Okay, goddess, honor your divine feminine energy. See your inner beauty. Love every part of you. But going back to the queen card. Action. Now is the perfect time to act. Take inspired action towards your dreams. Move forward with confidence. And polarity. Integrate your shadow side. There can be no light without dark. Understand the law of polarity. I'm going to echo taking extra time this month to go inward and to reflect and to notice what we are thinking about intellectually that needs to be processed more emotionally. Really taking the extra space. It's like, take 70% of your time to be with yourself and work through it and massage things out, because that's going to make all of the stuff in the 3D reveal itself. It's not a matter of you manipulating or moving things in the 3D, right? It's not a matter of me sitting here and energetically aligning with, oh, which income streams could I energize? That's not what I mean. I'm talking about going inward and really thinking about, how does it make me feel if this isn't working? How does it make me feel if I was this visible and that was working? How would it make me feel if I was in charge of managing this many more people? Like, going into that more internal process and clearing up that residue is going to be way more powerful than trying to do your energy work, your manifestation work, or even your 3D manipulation to fix this. Inside job first. And that's a lot of this polarity, seeing these unconscious patterns and these unconscious emotions that are ready to be looked at and acknowledged and actually worked with. This feels like it clarifies a lot with this action, but I want this action to come from a really clean place. I want this action to come from an empowered place. And that's very much that queen card and this goddess card. This is taking action from a very different energy. This is taking action from a space of magnetism, not a space of I have to force things. This is coming from a place of knowing your value and your worth and being really, really grounded in that first, and feeling really lit up and inspired with yourself and your own inner world and your own hobbies, those things, that feeling really rich and nourishing. When you move forward from that place, it's going to be a totally different action. And so if you have felt like things have been difficult to break past or not really grounding or kind of falling through, it's asking you to pause and do a lot more of this inner reflection and a lot more of this refortification of your own empowerment, your own beauty, your own strengths, falling in love with yourself again. Getting to know like your heart and your soul and what you really want to move forward with, instead of just the idea of who you're meant to become, because those are two different things. This isn't about what other people tell you. This is about you really getting to know yourself. And I think a lot of the things that might come through intuitively for you might be a surprise, and it will actually feel like a relief. That's the sign, if it feels like a relief. So very interesting energy for June. I'm very curious to see how this shakes out. Let me know what in here resonates for you and what you're feeling going into this month, because May has been fascinating. A lot is rearranging, and I think that it's going to continue to rearrange until the end of June, and then things are definitely going to pick up and light up a little bit. We have been doing the energetic detox program inside of the CTC app and Next Level You, and it's a 25-day program that is a deep clean of your energy fields. This program is actually perfectly aligned with this reading, because It's really meant to take you deep into everything you're holding on to internally and clear all of it out, and then activate you into your highest timeline from a very different frequency. Activating into your highest frequency without doing the deep clean often doesn't land, because we can be intending from a space that's not fully ours. And so we deep clean first and then we activate. And the people who have started this have we've already gotten insane results. We're only actually a week in as I record this, and somebody said they lost 4 pounds in like 2 days. We've had people say that relationships have been leaving, new things are manifesting in. A bunch of people said that they had big money shifts, things coming in from releasing that old stuff. That's really the key. You got to start with a deep clean of your energy field. So that program is there and available. You can start at day 1 anytime and pace yourself through those 25 days. It will fundamentally shift your entire field. I have had insane shifts from this. I have had so much be revealed to me. I feel like in the last month of doing this, I've had more revealed to me and more change physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually than I have in like 5 years. So I am really excited about this program. You can try a 7-day free trial and see if you enjoy it. Just go to ChristinaTheChannel.com/membership. We'll put the link below and you can get a 7-day free trial to check it out. You can also just download the Christina the Channel app on Android or Apple. And I think that is the perfect thing for us as we move through June into July. I can't wait to see what unfolds. It's going to be interesting. So thank you all for hanging out with me today. Please leave a comment and let me know how you're feeling going into this next month. And I will chat with you again in the next video.